Hello, 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 hello. Hi guys, welcome back to Strange Orphan. Welcome back. As you can see, we've made it out of murder flat. We made it out of the murder apartment. Guys, we have a big one this week. This is a massive turning point, y'all. As you probably know by now, if you've listened to one of my past recent episodes, I think it's called No Place Like Home. Home is like a thing for me. It's like an Achilles heel for me. So when I have like massive manifestations, like massive miracles transpire in the home sector of my life, I sort of take note of that. I've spent the past week kind of assessing what I did to make this happen, because this place is not normal. This the way it happened was not normal. It was all serendipitous events. And when these things happen, like, people just call things luck and serendipity. But I really wanted to like dig into the mechanics of what really transpired, because I had a lot of stuff happen to me over the last 2 weeks. And then this apartment happened to me. It's not even an apartment. It's a freaking home. It's a full-blown home, guys. 2 bed, 3 bath, running water. And it's gorgeous. So I think I'm like kind of still in shock how it happened. And so I wanted to dive into the mechanics of like a miracle. Like, what makes a miracle? How does a miracle happen? Because I have come to the new theory now that we play a bigger part in the miracles in our lives than we might want to admit or that we recognize. And so I wanted to talk this week about, like, I've basically spent the last week and a half like reflecting on what I did prior to this falling into my lap, because it really did. I didn't do anything to make this happen. It was bonkers, and I'll explain how it happened. But I wanted to I started to look at everything around me finding this apartment, and sort of like where I was at emotionally, the things I had just dealt with emotionally, how I dealt with them, how I processed them, and then rebounded from them, and then what happened. So yeah, as many of you guys know, like, I was in a very dicey Airbnb situation just like a couple weeks ago. It was really bad. Airbnb, I'm going to stop trashing them at some point, but not today. I basically just wound up in a murder flat. I've been calling it the murder flat because it was like where it's like if a murder took place there, you'd go, oh yeah, obviously it's a murder flat. It's a murder apartment. Like, it just screamed crime. It screamed pre-crime. The place was like where you would go to, like, if you had to shoot bad guys, like there's always those like shots in the movie where it's like a bunch of people like on mattresses, like drug dens and stuff. Like, it kind of had that kind of vibe. There was like no windows. There were no windows. These AI generated photos, man, everything AI generated is so dangerous now. Like, people are AI generated now. It's all just so freaking dangerous because you're like, what did I buy? What is this? This isn't real. I got the Temu version of an Airbnb flat, and it was such a letdown. Anyway, and then like it would be at like 3 a.m. every night. There was a train that went by. So like, you were up from the train. It was criminal. It was super. It seems illegal that they could get away with charging people to stay there. And there was this poor family. So it was like a series of maybe like a quad, I don't know. But there was a family that was also renting one or the other, and like they had already been there for like a week. by the time I checked in, and they were just like, you could see like they looked like they were like done with their first leg of war. Like they were like the train. I was like, I know, it's bad. Anyway, so um so yeah, I kind of was having a really tough go. I was having a really tough go, and living, as I've kind of alluded to, as I explained in like a previous episode, like finding home and living situations, like my living circumstances have always been bonkers, bad ideas. I've just always fallen into places like, I don't want to say because I didn't have discernment, like I did, but there was sort of this like there's something in the body that was like, well, you just take what you can get. And that's sort of like you're sort of a beggar when it comes to home. Like you're sort of you settle on apartments too soon, or you're just not picky because you don't have that like backdrop in the mind of stability and safety and security and coziness. Like you don't have a comparative picture that is top notch. And so you're settling for stuff that in a week later, I'd always be like, oh, this place kind of sucks. I did that for like 10, 15 years. And you know, you have to do the work on why home is so rocky for you. So anyway, how did this thing happen to me? Like this place it's really gorgeous and I'm really happy to be here. And I didn't have to like do anything naughty to get it. I will say this. I had a major, so like I would say my attendance on the podcast has been less than stellar lately. And I don't like to make excuses for myself. But for some reason, every time I come to Texas, I just like have I always wind up battling some really old stuff. And I don't know why that is. But it happens. And we had that Scorpio moon a couple weeks back. And I have a Scorpio moon. And if you know anything about astrology, your moon sign it sort of determines your home and your mother and how you relate to your home and your mother. And that full moon rocked me, man. Like I had so much gunk come up. And a lot of it was about home. And a lot of it was about like facing the sort of like trauma I had run from in my home. And so being in that Airbnb, as uncomfortable as it was, you start to tell yourself stories, right? Like, why is this my reality? Like, what is going on? That paired with, I had a lot of old trauma come up from my past homes. And I think it was almost like we wind up in these situations where we're like, I shouldn't be here, right? But it's like, it's always the place you don't want to be is always the catalyst for what you need to be experiencing sometimes in a way. And it was like that awful Airbnb was almost like exactly what I needed to plunge me into the depths, I guess, of some past stuff I hadn't fully healed. And it's usually not until we really fully heal these things that we can kind of exercise them from our bodies and from our energy fields. And that's exactly what it sort of felt like. I mean, I felt like I was kind of giving myself an exorcism in the woods. I'm not gonna lie. It was brutal. It was sad. I was in there was a lot of screaming and crying in the woods. The trees are good sports. They soak it up. But so basically that is what I was dealing with. I was dealing with the trauma that went on in my home. And I was still dealing with it in the body because, as I sort of explained in that episode, No Place Like Home, I have dealt with uprooting a lot. And when I got into that Airbnb, I didn't want to be there. I just wanted to flee it. But my problem with home is that I'm very quick to flee. And I'm very reticent to sit in the discomfort of, I don't like this. And when you sit in the discomfort of the right now, you're actually dealing with something that's very old. Because that Airbnb, as much as it sucked, it wasn't going to kill me. Well, the train was not fun, but it was more about the emotions that it brings up of I don't feel safe here. Well, why? Well, why? And if you keep 5-year-old questioning yourself, well, why? You get somewhere really fucking sad. And I did that. So I spent that weekend going somewhere really old and screaming into the trees. And here's where it gets really interesting, right? So when we face stuff that's really old and really heavy, a lot of times it's you face it and then you think, well, it's the story you tell yourself after you've grieved, after you've felt it. So I went to the woods and I had my exorcisms, as I call them. And then you come out. And when you come out, you have a choice, right? You have a choice to be bitter and still angry and still holding on to the pain and the trauma and the resentment of what happened in that home. Or you can leave it in the woods. And it's not easy because I was still living in that Airbnb for another month. But I made a choice on that walk back that I don't think I've made it previous times. I was I'm just going to focus on what brings me peace right now. And instead of going back to the Airbnb and unraveling and going down another rabbit hole about the past and how the past will become my future, I sort of shifted it into, I'm just going to make myself feel great in the simplest, most effective way I can right now. Which for me were my nightly hot girl walks. I love walking. Walking might be one of my favorite things. Is that lame? Whatever. I love it. I love walking. I have my little Bala armbands. This podcast is not sponsored by them, but they're great. They've lasted me many years. I have my armbands and I go walk. I walk to a nicer neighborhood and I do loops. And what I was doing was, instead of being bummed that I was in an Airbnb that I hated in a neighborhood that was dangerous, I would walk to the nice neighborhood and just go walk around there. And I didn't tell myself a damning story. I told myself a positive story. I was like, hey, let's enjoy this. And this is where we're headed. It's I love my walks, so I'm going to really love my walks. I'm going to indulge in them, right? And I listen to my music and I just vibe out. And then the third thing I did, which I noticed, was I stopped trying to control how I was going to get out of that Airbnb and where I was going to go to next. And I think this is the biggest thing. So normally anybody that's in that situation is you're in a really crappy Airbnb. What's the first thing you're going to do? You're going to try and get out of it. And you're going to get on Zillow and you're going to start looking at new places to jump to. And that's what I have always done, is control the situation. And for the first time in my life, I was like, you know what? I'm going to kind of surrender. My favorite word. I'm going to kind of surrender this project to God. God knows I don't want to be here. But I know that I don't know what neighborhood I want to live in. I don't want to just jump to something that's going to be even more chaotic than where I am now. when you're in chaos, you just kind of create more chaos for yourself if you move too quickly. So I was like, I'm going to do nothing right now. I have this place paid for a month, unfortunately. I have a little bit of time to figure out what I want to do next. And right now, I just want to feel good. And so I would go on my walks. And I would do this like for about 2 weeks. I just kept doing this and doing this. And on like the third or fifth time I passed this one house, this guy would always be outside like watering his front yard. And I noticed there was a for sale sign. It was like one new build in front of a second new build. And the for sale sign was for the house in the back. And if I was in a crappy mood, I would have never stopped to talk to this guy. But I was in such a good mood. My endorphins were up. I was listening to my tunes. And I was like, hey, what's the deal with that house? And it was only because I was in a happy mood. And he was like, oh, do you want me to show it to you? And I was like, well, what? I can't buy a house right now. I'm not. And he's like, no, I mean, like, I don't know what their deal is. It's been on the market for a really long time. Come, let me show it to you. It was almost like I kind of like opened myself up to the energy, and it just like a wind just swept me. And so then all of a sudden I'm looking inside of this beautiful house. The owners, this is where magic kicks in. The owners have been trying to sell this house for a long time. It's been on the market. They can't find a buyer. It is a gorgeous 2-bedroom home. If anyone's in Austin, they want to see it, please DM me. I'll show it to you. The owners are the nicest people. And I was like, yeah, that's not my budget. And he was like, well, here, let me reach out to the girls and we'll see what they think. I kid you not. This man texted them. They texted me back before I even got home. And they were like, do you want to come see the place? We'd be happy to rent it to you while we look for a person to buy it. And I was like, yeah, but that's not my budget. And they're like, no, we'll work with your budget. It's furnished. It was not something. So like, had I already been on Zillow searching for new places to leap to something new, it would have never been as nice as this. And I would have never looked for a place like this because this was out of my budget. There's something about what I've come to understand and what I've come to, this is my thesis on this, is that miracles require our participation. When we think about like miracles happening in our lives, we don't realize that we have more sway in great things happening to us by the energy we carry and the attitudes we hold. I think the biggest thing is I did 3 things that I'm really proud of. 1, I healed some stuff. You got to feel it to heal it, right? I didn't run. I stayed put, and I dealt with the emotions that were coming up regarding traumas from the past. I mean, that's a really basic way to put it, but it's really what I did. I had to sit in that feeling. And then the second thing I did was that I didn't let that pain from the past dictate how I was going to move forward in the present moment, right? Like I found a way to remain genuinely positive and in a positive mindset for those following weeks where I was still living in a really bad neighborhood in a really bad Airbnb, and it was depressing AF. And it's in that window of time that we start to tell ourselves really bad stories, right? Like that's when you start to spiral downhill of like, it'll always be like this and all that stuff that like our trauma brain sucks us into. That's the pivotal window, right? Where you have to tell yourself a different story. Oftentimes when bad things happen to us, it just creates this domino effect in the brain where we start to spiral downhill of like your current surroundings then dictate a story. And then that story just brings you down to a lower and lower place. And then you're in like chaos and you're trying to control it and everything is just getting worse and worse and worse, right? No. I think that's why in the Bible it says be still so much, because it's like, just stop. Everything you're doing is in the wrong direction. You're going in the wrong direction. Took me a really long time to learn that one. And so what I did instead was I found the tiniest little sliver of freaking joy that I could. And I went on my hot girl walks and I started to tell myself a different story. And this is where things started to rebound in a better direction. I didn't let my 3D reality dictate how I felt inside. I always come back to Leonardo da Vinci that the greatest act of genius is to not let your current circumstances dictate what you think and believe. Something like that. I'm paraphrasing. But he's basically talking about quantum physics. The material plane, is way more heavier and dense than our energy. So while I had gone and healed something in the woods, right? Your 3D reality isn't going to change right away. But week after week, I kept not letting my current reality and the pain of the past tell me how to feel about the future and what was possible. And so I just wanted to press upon people that we have a responsibility to our energy and even our micro energy. Like, we don't think about how important our micro attunements of our energy is, but it's like you have a negative conversation with somebody, you get on your phone and you go down a rabbit hole, or you take the bait with someone, and then all of a sudden you're in a fight when you could have turned the corner and gotten a free coffee or met the love of your life or found your next apartment, your dream home. If we stay on top of our energy, and I don't mean like, I'm also not talking about false positivity either. I'm talking about genuinely feeling gratitude for some sliver of joy that you have and holding on to that and riding that train for as long as you can, rather than this is all going to hell in a handbasket, right? And then the third and final piece was I gave up control of how to fix it. And that's the hardest thing for me. Like, that's always been the hardest thing for me. Control is something I love, but in this circumstance, I knew for some reason just to not even go there. I knew that, like, I don't have the answers right now, so let's just wait, which is a bizarre new trial run for me, but it worked out really great. And so then I wind up in this amazing home. That's the perfect circumstance for me because they're going to try and sell this. And I don't know if I'm staying in Austin. I don't know what area of Austin I want to live in. I said I wanted a giant deck to sit out on and write on. The place has a giant patio and a pool. It's bonkers. It's so beautiful. It's so nice. And oh my gosh, I can't believe I forgot this. Another reason to just like give up control. So I love coffee, and I kept deliberating on whether or not I should order from Amazon my little ceramic. I have these ceramic pour over things that I'm obsessed with. They're from Japan, and mine is in storage because I was a ding dong and I didn't pack it. And I was like, do I order another one or do I just ship the box? And I kept going back and forth on it, right? And this is how I know that God is real, or at least the universe is always listening to us, is that when I got here, there was furniture, but there wasn't any like there was no silverware or plates or anything like that. There was one, I'm not making this up, there was one Chemex and coffee filters that had been left behind by the previous person. And I was like, okay, that's a nod from the divine if I've ever gotten one. Just incredible. Just incredible. The only way this happened is because I learned how to direct my energy in the right way and not the wrong way. The wrong way is control. The wrong way is a doom story that you keep telling yourself. And the wrong way is staying in that old pain and not fully addressing it. I think when you think about, it's not fun facing traumatic stuff. And it's not fun facing that, like letting that energy come up in the body and sitting in it. It's really painful. And it took me like, a full weekend to kind of absolve it and let it release. But when you do that, I swear there's like there's an energetic kind of like, I'm picturing like a slinky, like there's an energetic resonance that goes on in the body where the heavier junk you face, the more it slingshots you into expansiveness, like because you've freed up an old energy in the body that's probably been keeping you really stagnant and heavy and stodgy. And so when you free this stuff up, you almost create like a trampoline for yourself. And so when you come up out of it, it's pivotal to not stay in it and to not believe your current surroundings. Like to believe the past is the future and the present is where you slip up. I read this the other day that bamboo, did you know that bamboo, if you're making bamboo, tuck in for a minute because it takes 1 to 3 years for bamboo to even come up out of the ground. So if you think about it, the seeds we plant and this energy, it's spending 3 years underground just building new roots. And then when it shoots up out of the ground, it's the fastest growing plant in the world. It grows like 2 feet every day or something crazy like that. That's fascinating. But it's like the same thing applies to our brain, right? We don't think anything is happening to us in our world. Nothing's showing up. We're doing all this work and nothing's showing up. But it's like you're building new neural roots so that you'll have greater shoots, right? That's a cute little rhyme. But your brain is like a bamboo tree. You have to keep planting the right shoots in the soil so that the right plants will grow. And again, this is where I think our micro attunements, like our micro energies, can have massive returns. Not picking up your phone every 5 minutes, but sitting in stillness so that the greater idea can drop in. These are like, it doesn't seem like you're doing anything, but this is a massive turn in a different direction. And it's micro attunements, it's micro energy that we are navigating. It's like being grateful. It starts in the brain. You have to tell yourself to be grateful. But then once you're in the body, you're then navigating your consciousness from the heart and you get a totally different reality. It's so weird. It's like this whole experience is like I've been a guinea pig for how to shift out of, I don't want to say victim mentality, but definitely like getting out of trauma brain and really those steps, like each step is a big deal. I really like this neuropsychologist. Her name is Dr. Julia DiGanji. And she talks about energy a lot, but she also talks about energy in relationship to emotions and getting your power back from your stupid emotions. And she had these great quotes on trauma. She once said, trauma is a nonsensical event. Trauma is a violent shattering of the predictable pattern, right? Like she uses the example, like you go out to your mailbox every day for decades, and then you go out one day and you get assaulted, right? So then it's a shattering of your pattern. And she's like, but we live in a world of polarity. So if you have up, you have down. If one can exist, then that means by definition, the other must have to exist, right? So the opposite of trauma is a miracle. It's a wondrous expansion of the predictable, she writes. And I love that definition. And I love that thought of like, if one can exist and we've experienced one, then how do we get our heart postures in a position where we can experience the other? And it's just being emotionally and psychologically primed for it. That's all. And feeling all the gunk, leaving that stuff in the woods. My biggest takeaway here is like miracles require our cooperation. They require our participation. And they require that our energy and our hearts are in alignment with them. Because if they're not, they can't meet us. They can't arrive at our doorstep. And again, like I'm talking from somebody that has seen trauma, especially in the home. Like when it comes to home, I'm the first person that would be like, yeah, that's not for me. That'll never be for me. It's like, right? You think but you get a choice in the brain. You can choose fear or you can choose faith and love. And I just want to really drill home, like, I want you to slingshot yourself out of, like, when you feel these big things, you then you gotta slingshot yourself out of it being the future too. Like, you can believe that the world's against you, or you can believe that the world is for you. And how you move through that world is going to determine which one you got. But yeah, the greatest miracle in all of this has been like a front row ticket to the fact that there's actually like a loving creator running the show that actually wants me to have what I, in my heart of hearts, really want to have. Like, for someone who's been wounded by home to then land in one and be like, wow, there's actually a loving parent at the helm of my life. That's cool. That's a miracle. That's the miracle. And I have a pool. It's pretty rad. So yeah, I wanted to like just kind of brag. No, I didn't. I wanted to kind of share the mechanics of what I went through because I think it's a 3-parter. You got to feel it. You got to shift out of it. And then you have to give up control of how it'll land in your hands. That's my 3-pronged approach to miracles. It sounds simple, but try doing it. It's a little bit harder when a train is rolling past your head at 3 a.m. You're not telling yourself some great stories then. That's for sure. But, yeah, thanks for bearing with me. Last week I was moving into this gorgeous new home that I'm really grateful and lucky to be in. And, I'm definitely grateful, but I also think we got to reframe. Like, I'm not lucky. I'm deserving, right? Like, the universe clearly says you deserve it. So, wow, I guess I need to work on that. Cool. More stuff, more homework. Yeah, that's it for Strange Orphan this week. Next week I have a really, I've been going through this other thing too about like stuntedness stuff. And then there's dating that's been happening a little bit. And that's a wild terrain. Oh my gosh. Is anyone else doing that? I'm so sorry. It's so awful. It's not awful. It's just like very clunky. I don't know. We'll talk about that one either next week or the week after. But that's it on miracles, guys. I've cracked the case once again. I don't know. I love you. Thank you so much for stopping by this week, and I'll see you next week. Take care. Bye.